Good morning. Before I begin, are there any questions about your process? Okay. I do want to remind you that continues. I am continually reminded that we sometimes forget what the process is about. We get involved in the examples and forget the process itself. The process is about clarity. Each individual becoming clear so that they are at peace, so that they cease to suffer and cease to have, quote, so-called problems. That is the point. There is no other point. Now we can talk about things along the way that prevent that. Okay. I will say to you, if that is not why you're here as each individual, then you should be someplace else. You should be somewhere with some religious teacher who gives you a whole bunch of bullshit and you can jump up and down and feel good about that, walk out, do the same stupid crap that you've always done, go back the next week and feel good again for a few minutes, if that's what you want. Here, as I've said to you before, this is for real. You must be willing to be for real. You must be willing to see and accept the responsibility, the absolute responsibility for your position in time and space and for your life forever. That which is absolutely responsible. No one else is responsible. If you find yourself debating with that or arguing with that, you should be someplace else. You're not ready for this. I'm just being honest today. Because this is about how you solve the problem, whatever the problem is. You see, it doesn't matter what someone did to me. In the solution, now it matters in the setting up of the problem. It matters how I took it and how I'm continuing to take it in the solution. I must stop it in order for me to feel better, to see better, to do better, to create better in my life. That's the bottom line. I've given you a lot of examples in science. I've given you a lot of examples in the universe. And I've given you those examples because these are examples of universal law. I want you to look and I want you to see it because I want you to understand this is not something that Ananda made up. I want you to see it for yourself and understand it is the law. Okay. Everything that has begun will end. There will be problems along the way. What you consider problems. Now we come to understanding of what those things are. If you look at the creation of your solar system, it just didn't happen smoothly, poof. And there were all the little planets going around the sun and everything was cool. There were explosions. There were things running into each other. There were things breaking down in order to be built up. This is the process. And this is why we must come to the point of accepting the things that happen because they build up on the other end. Okay? Something breaks down to build up. Ideas break down so that truths can be seen. Things that you have said, well, this is the way it is, this is the way it always ought to be. No. And if you resist that, the pain is yours. Now, how will you get rid of the pain? By accepting the truth. This is what happens. Ideas change. Thoughts about who I am change. This is the natural order of things. You live on a planet that constantly changes. You live in a solar system that constantly changes. You live in a galaxy that constantly changes. You live in a universe that constantly changes. All you have to do is look and see. We worry about things. We want to know about things. We want to know, oh, the Mayan calendar ends in 2012. Is this the end of the world? Could be. Could have been a couple of guys named Joe and Bob was sitting there figuring it out, and they figured, shit, man, I'm tired of this. Let's go see some girls. And stopped. Could be. Could not be. What we have to do is accept the possibility it could be. It could not be. We have to accept both sides of an equation. Both sides of the equation. One side does not exist without the other. We have to accept that. One side does not exist without the other. The possibility of one brings about the possibility of the other. Or the probability of one brings about the probability of the other. One half of the equation is manifested, the other half remains unmanifested. When you switch, you switch. The point is, those things change. Now, what is the constant? The constant is you. The constant is you. This is peace. When you stand at the center and observe the changes going on about you, you are the constant. You see. You learn how to use things consciously. Consciously. Right now we are using the laws, but we're using them unconsciously. And when you do things without conscious, without view, without clarity, we bring about chaos. And that is where we are. Because we think, this is the way I see it, that is the way it is. No, it is as it is. You've heard me say, well, people think I'm an alone person, or that I am a private person. I'm not. It's just that I see things, and I choose not to have things come into my space that are detrimental. It is a conscious choice. A conscious choice to have my life be a particular way. If you come in with a whole lot of noise and stuff, as my grandmother used to say to me, son, you can come in, but that noise got to go. It's as simple as that. We see. And we learn how to use those things together to create something of value. Not to be the same. Here we are. Nothing is ever right. Nothing is ever right. All is always right. What is the problem? The observer to the situation has the problem. The observer to the situation has the problem. Not the situation. It is in flux constantly. Everything is in flux. Now, how do you order that situation? You accept that what you see and how you create it is only going to live for a brief period of time. A brief period of time, and then it is going to change. This is what we accept. Now, when we accept that it's going to change, what are we doing? We see the change coming. And the change does not destroy us. We ride the change to the next point in our life. To the next point in our life. And we ride to the next point in our life. Did you ever hear the old saying, go with the flow? You can't go with the flow if you're judging the flow not as a flow but as a problem. Think about that. If I am making it a problem, it's a problem. If I see it for what it is, I can use it for what it is. Life becomes simpler. To learn to use energy. Now look, let's go back. I gave you a clue, I think it was last week, or a week before last, or whenever that was, I gave you the clue. I'm in the flow, I don't know. Everything is a flow. From that beginning moment of the creation of this part of the universe, the Big Bang, everything flowed because there was no form, only energy. Remember Einstein's formula. Mass is only a cooling down point of energy. As it cools at different points, different things become different things at subatomic levels. Okay. So flow is the basis of the universe. If you don't allow the flow, then you go against the law of the universe. That means change. Energy changed from energy to form, to subatomic particles. Subatomic particles became larger subatomic particles, and larger subatomic particles ultimately became particles that you can see. And that became cells, and that became organisms, and that became what you are now, and the things around you that you see now. This is only a point in the process. At some point, that too is going to change. That too is going to change. So what do we learn to do? To follow the flow. Accept the flow. Accept the next stage. Those who do not suffer greatly. When you see change coming and you don't want to change, think about how you respond to that. You respond with anger, with hostility, frustration. Let's ask a question. Can you do something about that change? No, you cannot. You can only do something about the attitude that you're holding that prevents that change from happening. Now we're not talking about peace in you. We're not talking about peace of mind. We're not talking about understanding. We're talking about being caught in a position that can be described as hell. Look around. Think back when you were young. Look around at young people. Moody. Frustrated. Why? They are changing and they don't want the change. You have lived and have been born into a situation, say a mother and a father, or you, whatever it is. And that situation begins to change. People grow apart. They begin to see parents not as parents, but as people. People who have sex, people who go out, people who dance, people who laugh, people who tell jokes, people who do whatever it is people do. And the child does not want to see the change. So you have to recognize the child in you that does not want to see the change and causes itself pain. Now, for those who are changing and allow that, and you can look back at your child and say, hey, it's on you, kid. I'm going to tell you the truth. Here's the truth. Things change. This is what I am, and this is the way I am, and this is the way it's going. I'm not going to stay here for you. Now, you can come along for the ride. You can begin to accept the change that is in your life. But you cannot afford to hang back for someone else. You can't hang back, because the moment you start hanging back, they're not going to move forward. And what are you going to do? Be hung back and caught in that whirlpool. That's what you're going to do. I think it is Khalil Gibran in one of his poems or something who says, you have to remember your children come through you. They are not for you. They're not yours. And you are not theirs. These, you want to treat them and all others around you as equals. If I'm going to treat you as equals, I'm not going to come back and start behaving as you behave. I'm sorry. No. I have a path. I am on that path, and I am going. If you want to come, come. Because this is the natural way and the natural flow of things. I am not your mother. I am not your father. Maybe I participated in your birth or your coming here, yes. In that way, yes. But I am a kindred soul of yours, and we both must travel the same path to the same end result. We are separate until we find out we are the same. In our separation, do we know that we are the same? You must go through what you must go through to get to the same place I'm trying to get through to. You don't understand that? That's all right. Keep living, you will. If you allow yourself to break down the idea structures that prevent you from seeing the flow of life. That prevent you from seeing and participating in the flow of life. In the flow of time, things change. If you look around, if you're old enough, you will see changes in this country. You see changes in everything. Some of them positive, some of them not positive. Change. That is the flow. And that is what we must accept. We accept the flow. We accept that the answer to our problems are simple. They aren't complex. We want to make them complex because we don't want to give up what we already have or what we think we already have. You have to remember, you own nothing. Nothing. You can use it for a while, but you don't own it. You don't own this. It will be for a while. Damn it, you lose it. There are no 1,000-year-old people on this planet. It just doesn't work that way. The flow, change. One thing changes to another, to another, to another, to another, to another. Life changes. Acceptance that it changes. This is truth. And when you live with truth, everything is better. When you live with what is true. If you don't live with what is true, you are forever frustrated. You're forever angered and blaming others for it. And you wonder why no one wants to be around you. Because nobody wants to be blamed for something that's not their problem. No one wants to be blamed for someone else's attitudes. You heard me say, when people bring that to me, I have to say, look, that's about you. That's not about me. You want to deal with me, not with your idea of what I am in your head. Deal with who I am. And who I am is sitting right in front of you. Right in front of you. Looking right at you. With no fear of you, no desire to make you happy. No desire to make you happy. No fear of you, so I can tell you what? The truth. Here it is. Here I am. Deal with me. I will deal with you. When we project onto others, we are saying to them, you have a reason to be dishonest with me. When you live with truth, you will say back, you're right. I'm not going to be dishonest with you. Kiss off. Because I am what I am, and here I am. I have the right to be as I am. When this first happened to me, I wondered how others would deal with me. Because what I knew was so far outside of the norm, I knew people would think I was strange. But I knew one thing. What had happened was true. It was real. What am I going to do? I'm going to be it. Here it is. I am going to be it. I know what the solution is. Ultimately, I know what the solution is. I don't know what the solution is if nobody else wants to work on that solution. Then there is no solution. So I leave it alone. That is what I know. If you and I want to work on the solution or the resolution of a problem, but one thing to do is work on the damn solution. Don't bring in a whole bunch of other stuff. The solution is simple. What do we do? What do we need to do? There it is, right there in front of us. Deal with it. Deal with it. I look at the CIA people, not CIA, but the Secret Service people are down there. Oh, they raised a whole lot of hell. All they had to do was pay the woman. That wouldn't have been a problem. What was it, $47.50? All you had to do was pay her. That wouldn't have, people wouldn't have been losing their jobs. See, the solution is simple. The solution is simple. When we look at things, but when we bring other things into it, we create a situation where there is no solution. All of our solutions, all of our problems, there are solutions. The problem is, will we deal with them? The answer is in the observation of that which is true. The laws are everywhere. The laws are right in front of our face. Right in front of our faces. What do you want to do? You want to deal with it? Deal with it. Okay. You don't? Then don't. There are consequences. There are results for each and every thing. You deal with it within the law, it comes out smooth on the end. Might be a little bumpy going through it, but it comes out smooth on the end. It comes out transformed on the other end, something better. Look at everything. If you put a seed into the ground, what happens between the ground and the seed? Combustion. Something dies. The outer husk of the seed dies so that the plant within can live. Then what does it do? It bursts through the earth. Bursts through the earth. There is conflict or cooperation. Something dies so that that plant can live. You look at the sperm and the egg. The sperm and the egg both die so that the embryo can be born. The embryo dies so that that whole process continues and a human being ultimately is born. So out of every conflict, what seems to be a conflict is really a cooperation. Out of every one, something new comes into being. That's the way it is. Accept that and grow. Go against that and die. It's as simple as that. Carry all the pain of the universe. But all you have to do is let go of it and live by the law. It's there. It's there everywhere. It's just different ways of saying it. But if you look, it's there. But where do we look? Where is it that we as individuals are constantly looking? We are constantly looking at the problem and thereby creating problem. Each individual, everything creates its own reality. Everything, no thing is stupid. Everything has intelligence and follows the law, except man. We go back to that passage in the Bible, and they became as wise as God, which in truth they became really stupid by going against the laws that were there. And knowing, well, I know better than this, I'll go like this, and I'll do it like this. So all the problems were born because we went against the laws of the flow. The laws of the flow. We go against that. We have a problem. So it is up to each individual. As you go through these processes, or this process, I talked to you about this. You have to come to a point where you see and you recognize. And you have to become, at that moment, unified with the law of what you found. That is, you become that and move on. But what is it we normally do when we come to that point? When we come to that point, normally we'll see it and go, oh, I see the truth. But then that we go to bed, we wake up the next morning and start doing exactly the same thing we were doing the day before. We don't bring it forward. We have not recognized it. We have not recognized it, to cognate. We have not cognated this thing. We have not allowed this to be the new part of who we are and live by that. So we keep having to reinvent the wheel over and over and over again and wonder what happened. That is why the technique, no matter what, when that happens, you go back and you do the same thing that presented you in the first place, presented that truth to you in the first place. And you do it over and over and over again. Now, hear this part real clear. The technique positions you to see. It's not a magic pill. It's not a magic pill. What do you see in that moment? What is revealed to you in that moment? I'm not talking about some great bang. What do you see? What happens when you do that technique, when you're feeling whatever it is you're feeling? What happens? That's a question you must answer. That is a question that you have been presented with. What? Oh. It is a recognition. To cognate, to bring forward in one's consciousness. If you don't do that, you're looking for a magic pill, which means you're not looking to do any work, which means it's not going to change. You have to reconnect your personal power. Reconnect with your personal power. Everything has two sides, as we keep saying. One of the problems is we live in a society. It's good in a way, it's bad in a way. It's good in that we have learned how to feed ourselves on a massive level. We've learned how to do a lot of things to make our lives more comfortable. But those same things that have made our life more comfortable have made us soft and thoughtless. One of the things that makes you a sharp thinker is having to search for your food, having to work hard for it. You know, if you animals in the forest, you don't see a dull animal in the forest. They are alert. Even though they may be nodding, something happens, everybody goes, what? What was that? Mind is sharp, not dull. We are dull because we have too much stuff. We don't have to think. We think we are smart. We think we are sharp. But no, we're not. We are, what is the word? I can't think of the word now, but what we can do is we can think within a certain way. But that does not make us sharp. That does not take us back to our power to really create, to really be sharp, to really be healthy, to really be creative. It just keeps us in this little loop. In this little loop. You create your own reality. We have no idea of what that means. We have no idea of how the universe truly works. And we have no idea because we have idea structures that prevent us from seeing further and further and further into the depth of the universe. I've given you certain laws. And those laws are true to a point. After that, they change. I've given you laws having to do with the physical universe, that as a physical being that you must live by. Flow. In reality, there is flow. In truth, there is no flow. Just if you want to live with this and live within it, you must learn how the flow happens. And when you ask the question at some point about yourself, and when you see you are stable, now you've got to begin to ask another question. What is this? I set it up for you. I gave you a picture of the Tao. Some of this and that, some of that and this. The two halves work together to formulate a new thing, a new and different thing. I've also said you must stand at absolute value, which is 0, so that you can see the two halves working. Where is the stable part? You. Then the laws of the universe are created by you. So when you stand outside of that, you see that there is no flow. You see that what you think of as straight line motion is not straight line at all. It's like dealing out of a deck of cards. You can choose from over here, you can choose from in here, you can choose from the bottom, the top, anywhere in there. You can take out a card and it looks like it is in a row. It looks like the events happened in a row. But that is a part of your creation. I don't expect that at this moment, what I have just said will be understood. And the reason I don't expect that, because we don't understand the flow yet. We don't understand how we create the flow yet. First things first. One is in understanding the situation in which you live. One is in understanding God itself. It is said that you can't understand God. I say that's nonsense. You are God and you can understand you. All you have to do is pay attention. And when you do, life changes. We think, whether we think it consciously or not, that we will go to meet some person named God. Some person named God. Some guy that goes, poof, poof, poof. Oh, I think I'll make me a star. Pew, and there's a star. No. You will never meet a person named God. You will only meet godliness. Now, I would like to redefine that word, God. Drop all notion of what you think about what that means, because the notion that you're thinking what it means tells you that you cannot understand it, because it will fit no example of what your mind can say. It is limited. It cannot, the infinite cannot define, the finite cannot define the infinite. It has no concept. All we can do is see and understand and accept. So we go right back to that thing, accept. We go right back to that point, accept. Right back to the point made earlier, accept. Accept the flow. Accept. That takes you to the next point. All that is a result of all that isn't. You think in terms of things and non-things. So when we start thinking about the concept of God, we're talking about a non-thing. A non-thing cannot be defined. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means it can't be defined. You can only define things.